Let's go to the US now, and as you know, that doddering, cantankerous president and the worsening border crisis is a shambles over there for starters. Our US commentator Kristin Tate agrees the border situation is now worse than ever.
It is. Part of the reason for that is because the summer is finally cooling down a little bit. So you always see a little surge when summer ends, but we've never seen a surge like this. This is because the smugglers, the human smugglers, and pretty much everybody in Central America and Mexico realize that they've got to get in now, because this is the U.S. president who is welcoming them in and telling them, come on in. We don't have a border. Only 23% of Americans approve of the way Biden is handling the border. That's not just Republicans. That's all Americans. This is a disaster. And it's one of those things that's kind of abstract, or has been abstract to a lot of coastal Americans who don't really deal with this problem firsthand. But as these sheer numbers, 10,000 a day in some cases, of people are coming across the border, they are going north. They are moving to these cities like New York, Boston, LA, and people who live in these places that typically haven't been impacted as much by illegal immigration are suddenly waking up and saying, hey, this is a topic we need to care about. This is a disaster. This needs to stop now.
And this is where the Republican governor of Texas has been genius, Greg Abbott, in making sure that he encouraged people and helped people move to those other cities to demonstrate that this is not just a Texas problem. This is not just a problem for states on the southern border. It's a problem for the whole nation. And he's been busy shunting it all home to the president. Here's Greg Abbott.
We have a president who is an obstructionist to Texas, who's trying to do our best to impede the flow of illegal immigrants by us building our own border wall, by us putting up these razor wire barriers and not allowing people to pass, by deploying the National Guard to make sure that we repel migrants who are trying to get into the country. And what do we have? We have Joe Biden interfering with my efforts to secure the actual border. I've never seen a president flout the laws of the United States as much as Joe Biden.
Kristin, this is extraordinary. It should be uncontroversial that a country can secure its border. That doesn't mean you keep everyone out. It means you only allow people in who are legal, who you allow in. But Abbott there, Greg Abbott, being actually thwarted from his attempt to actually secure the border along Texas, along the south of Texas. No wonder Donald Trump's doing well, because presumably the first thing he would do if he became president again would be get back to building that wall.
Yes. And, it's not controversial that we should secure the border. The vast majority of Americans believe that, including Democrats. It's only these elite political Democrats who live in the Beltway who want a totally open border, because we all know that eventually these people, when they come in, they all end up staying, and eventually they'll have children who will become U.S. citizens who can vote.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump is busy campaigning. I think most recently in South Carolina, big crowds of people lining up to hear him speak. I also noticed that he visited a gun store and was presented with a Glock hand pistol in his honour, inscribed in his honour. I mean, this is part of the American gun culture that's very difficult for Australians to understand. But I know, as a Republican living in Texas, it's a total different ballgame to you. But his campaigning's going very well, isn't it? It hasn't really had any hiccups.
Absolutely. And, the Democrats thought by this point in the 2024 race, Donald Trump would be facing this really dynamic GOP primary. We haven't seen that at all. I mean, there are really no serious threats to Donald Trump in this primary at this point. It has not been a dynamic primary. Ron DeSantis is like in fourth place now in most polls. Everyone else is, still in the single digits. He's the clear front runner. And the more they try to take this guy down, the stronger he gets, Chris. It's just incredible. He has an incredible amount of energy, and people just love the guy.
Yeah, Ron DeSantis, as you say, seems to have fallen by the wayside. But what hasn't fallen by the wayside is the conspiracy theories of the Democrats, who still don't accept Trump's victory in 2016. Now, I agree with their criticisms of Trump about not accepting the last election result, but Hillary Clinton still continues with this fantasy that somehow the Russians enabled Donald Trump to beat her. And this week, she's out saying that Russia is doing it again. Have a look.
Despite all of the deniers, there's any doubt that he interfered in our election. Part of the reason he worked so hard against me is because he didn't think that he wanted me in the White House.
This is just nutty stuff, isn't it, Kristin? She's trying to blame Putin again.
Yeah, they are coming up with a backup plan in case Trump does win the 2024 election against Biden. They can blame it on Russian interference again. That's what's going on. But the Democrats clearly want Biden out of there. You have the Washington Post, some of its most prominent columnists at this point, penning pieces about how Biden has to go. We've seen the charges against Hunter Biden start to ramp up, and the media finally suddenly has an interest in all of this corruption. They clearly want him gone. What nobody in the media wants to talk about is the fact that it seems like Biden doesn't want to step aside. So they are the Democrats are in a very bad position right now, and they're trying to come up with a plan B in case Biden refuses to be ushered off stage, and he ends up being beaten by Trump, and Trump is the president again. Now they have an excuse lined up.
I expect the Democrats will secretly start planting banana peels in his path. We shall see how it goes. Thanks for talking to us again, Kristin.
Thank you, Chris.